And of course we got abilities, because why not? We can also expand the whole thing, but can we also... we can keyword search. But there's... Yeah, it's a fairly simple one, which is perfect. Okay, so there's... Spend the number of skill points indicated to enable this connection. Okay, so we can only go down if we unlock a specific amount of skills. Skill assignment, what's this one? Ah, there we can place it down. Earning 7 total skill points. Now we can use that. Okay. Right, available points, none so far. Paragon is over here, which is unavailable yet. Basic skills deal damage and are always available to cast. Always, meaning they have no cooldown? Why does it say anything about the cooldown of a skill? Is tornado? Has bonuses. It doesn't say anything about cooldowns. Maximum spirit is increased. Okay, this is passive. Basic skills generate more spirit. And you... okay. So you get spirit by using skills. Your core skills cost 3% more spirit, but deal 5% increased damage. Okay, so, wait a minute. What do we got? We got the bear. We got the werewolf. We got Storm Strike. We got Wind Shearer. And we got Earth Spike. And obviously, I'm going for the wind stuff, which is a Cyclone Armor. Perfect. What did I say about damage over time? Of course, the funny stuff does not scale with it. Still gonna choose it. Just in case. Just in case. There's the cooldown. I was looking for cooldown, some time indicator or whatever, but it says cooldown right there. Contra Exploding Tornado that deals so much. Perfect, perfect, perfect. That's the cooldown. Lucky hit chance 25. Passive. Powerful winds around you, granting non-physical damage reduction. Okay, it's just a damage reduction. I thought it would deal damage. The winds rapidly expand, knocking back enemies and dealing 8 to 10, 30% damage. Oh, okay. 30% of what? 30% of the weapon, probably. Thank goodness I got a bit more in depth with the description here. Otherwise it would be... Because you can figure out a really good scaler like this, right? You can basically ignore anything that has a very low percentage and not choose that at all. Wind Shear has a 20% chance to make enemies vulnerable. And... oh, if you choose one of those, the other one is unavailable. That's very interesting. So, conjure a piercing blade of wind dealing damage. Wind Shear has a 20% chance to make... and vulnerable makes... enemies take 20% increased damage. Also, vulnerability is described down there. That's perfect. And fortified, finally. Characters take 10% reduced damage, and you become fortified when you have more fortify than current life. Fortify for 4% of your base life, which is 2. No, this is the Fortify. Okay, whenever Earth Spike damages enemies who are stunned. So with Fortify, I can increase that, and then I can also deal more damage because I'm overpowered. Okay, shapeshift into a werewolf and claw at the enemies for some damage. Then there's the werewolf stuff. The lucky hit. Still don't know what the lucky hit actually does. Wait a minute. What was the lucky hit thing? It should actually... lucky hit bonus. There we go. Increase the chance of triggering lucky hit effects. Yes. It varies per skill, yada yada yada, but it does not say what it does if it hits. It just says that you have a 50% chance to lucky strike here, but claw attack speed is increased by 10%. 10% chance to attack twice. And claw applies 10% poisoning damage over so and so much. Good. And there's the maul and the fortify thing again. If an enemy is hit by maul, then fortify for 2% base. Yes, maul has a 20% chance to knock down, and so on. So if we use strong abilities, we fortify ourselves. And fortify makes overpower happen. What was it? Yes. Fortify makes Overpower happen. Overpower is a life and fortify scaling thing. Alright. But we are going for the wind, because wind's funny. Each enemy hit by wind shear increases your movement speed. Yes. By so and so much. Wind shear grants 3 additional spirit for each enemy hit beyond the first. Now the question is, do we want to move fast, or do we want spirit? Because spirit makes us cast stuff. Maybe we can just reset this at one point. Let's hope so. Basic skills deal damage and are always available. Sure. Then we have landslide over here. Okay. Primal landslide and so on and so forth. What about this one? Predatory instinct. It's more like critical strike chance against close enemies is increased. You gain 3% movement speed while in werewolf form. The bonus persists for 3 seconds after. Alright, so you have to switch constantly. You gain 3 damage reduction while you're on werebear. Bonus persists 3 seconds after. So you constantly have to change forms, it seems. Generate spirit. Ah. So this one generates spirit. It does not cost anything. It generates. And which one generates the most? Not this one. This one. And this one. The Storm Strike. And what's Storm all about? Storm Strike has a 15% chance to immobilize enemies, which is good. And 50% chance to make enemies vulnerable. Alright. So... Conjure a piercing blade of wind, dealing damage. Electricity. Gathers around your weapon, dealing damage to your target and chaining to up to 3 surrounding enemies, dealing less damage each time it chains. You gain 25% damage reduction for 3 seconds after dealing damage with Storm Strike. Oh, that's pretty sweet. 15% chance to immobilize all enemies hit for 2.5 seconds. Chains to 2 additional targets. Okay. Tricky. Alright. Tricky. Spirit is increased by 3, but it can be upgraded multiple times. And this one also... Oh, it has multiple stages. Alright. Base skills generate more spirit, which is good. And this one can be increased. Your core skills cost 3% more spirit, but... Core skill. What's a core skill? And more spirit, but deal increased damage. What do they mean by core skill? Is this a core skill? It's basic. That's core. We don't know what this is called at all. There's wolves. There's the summoning stuff, the funny thing. Call of the Wild. Companion skills deal damage. Okay. So we got ravens. A creeper. Again, and the creepers are there to heal you mostly. Mobilize duration. And your critical strike chance is increased by so much against enemies strangled by poison creeper. The critical strike chance is increased by 20% plus. Additionally, thank you. Poison creepers active poisoning duration is increased by 3%. Oh, this is awesome. I just love the description so much. Gain 2% spirit when transforming into a human form. So you're just switching constantly, and then you get spirit and spirit and spirit. 5% increased critical strike chance against enemies for 6 seconds after they are hit by ravens. Periodically attack enemies inside the swarm of ravens. When it is activated, become vulnerable for 3 seconds. Okay, so if you think about it, ravens are there to... Okay, this is 2 additional ravens. Now the question is, do we need 2 additional ravens? Probably not. There's like a certain amount of enemies around us at all times, and we don't need to hit more than this amount, basically. So let's say we are this large, right? Then there's only like 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 8 enemies around us that can hit us. And the runs a little bit further away, but we don't need to hit like 100 enemies or so. That's a bit too much. What we need to focus on is just additional damage. So there's Wolf Pack, damage to immobilize, stun, slowed, or poisoned enemies. Lucky strike. Your wolf's attacks have up to 10% chance to fortify you for 5 base life. Interesting. And the wolves gain attack speed if I critically strike. That's nice. But I'm not going for wolves, I would say. I'm going to go for ravens, if anything, or some kind of creeper thing. The problem is the creeper is more like a immobilized target. Poisoning duration. I mean, it is kind of useful, yes. It makes it possible for me to keep the enemy at bay. It's more like a boss killer, if it works. Probably doesn't work against bosses, because stuff like this never works against bosses. Righty, now what do we have here? Elemental exposure. Your storm skills have up to a 10% chance to make enemies vulnerable. Again. Storm skills. What's considered to be a storm skill? This is a storm skill. Alright. What else is a storm skill? That's a storm skill. That's a storm skill. That's a storm skill. But the damage type is a little bit different. Is it? Oh, it also says core right there. Basic and core. Storm, natural magic. Storm and channel. And then we have storm and defensive cyclone armor. That's pretty sweet. Non-physical damage reduction. Okay, enemies who are knocked back by clone armor are also slowed. Okay. Every 10 seconds, it intensifies, causing incoming damage to grant you 30% damage reduction for 2 seconds. Enemies knocked back by cyclone armor become vulnerable. The thing is, you can have vulnerability with almost every ability in here. And I would say you should choose vulnerability for only a certain kind of skill. And then use it to make it vulnerable, and then choose whatever other option there is for the skill, for the cyclone armor maybe. Okay, and how furiously healing you for 20% of your maximum life. That's interesting. Shaped into a bear, reducing your enemy's damage. Okay, so this one heals you. That's great. What else do we have? Rocks surround you for 3%, granting a barrier that absorbs damage. Okay. Makes you unstoppable. What's this one doing? Characters have all control impair effects removed and prevented while active. And how long is it active? We don't know. For 3 seconds. Okay. And then rock shrapnel flies outwards. Destroy or expire, dealing damage to surrounding enemies. This damage is increased by barrier bonuses. So damage from all sources and so on and so forth. And casting Earthen Bulwark grants 80% base life as 45. That's nice. Then this one's also fortify and whatnot. And I actually wanted to know what this is. This is Wrath, and what's this? Companion. Okay. What's this one called? Defensive. Okay. Basic, core, defensive, companion, and Wrath. And then we have the ultimate, followed by whatever this is. Maybe you can only choose one of those. Storm skills that you cast grant 1 spirit and deal increased damage when damaging a vulnerable or mobile character. You may only select 1 key passive. Casting an earth skill has a 20% chance to trigger a free storm skill of the same category. Oh ho ho ho. Okay. In addition, casting a storm skill has a 20% chance to trigger a free earth skill of the same category. Okay, so storm and earth is linked with this, which is quite iffy because... Actually, no, it's not that iffy because lightning and wind is storm. That's good. Okay, Earthen Mire, lucky hit. Damaging enemies with earth skills has up to a 5% chance to restore all of your spirit. To restore all of your spirit. Cause your attacks to be guaranteed critical strikes for 5 seconds. Oh, that's good. Okay, so you do not need critical strike chance if you have this one. This chance is increased by 10% for critical strikes. Wait, again, lucky hit. Damaging enemies with earth skills. Up to 5% chance to restore all of your spirit. Cause your attacks to be guaranteed critical strikes for 5 seconds. So this is actually pretty sweet. 10% if the target is stunned, and so on. is increased by? It says it's increased by 10%. Additively or multiplicatively? We don't know. That's just great. Because 10% could just be 0.5 or something. Or it could be 10. Like this one here has a little X behind it, and this one has nothing behind it. So we do not know what this increase means. We can increase it multiplicatively, or you got to be kidding me. Gain 20% additional maximum life. But in this case, like the words and everything does not make any sense. Either you add it or you multiply it. You cannot actually increase maximum life. Yes. But not additional. It's kind of weird. Because additional would mean you add it with plus and not with a multiply sign. While in werebear form and for 3 seconds after leaving werebear form. While healthy. Oh, we can get healthy. 30% increased damage. That's nice. Have more than 80% of their health. That's good. That's actually really good. What else we do here? Bestial Rampage. After being a werewolf for 2.5 seconds, gain attack speed. After being a werebear for so and so many seconds, deal increased damage. Alright. So either you do more damage or you do more attack speed. Now the question is... actually, it's the same thing. Oh. So one thing adds attack speed, 20%, and the other one multiplies damage bonus. Yeah, that's the question. I would say you should go for the werebear, because 20% multiplied damage is better than 20% plus damage, even if those 20% with the attack speed are actually multiplied. But anyway, every 6th werewolf skill hit critically. Okay. Strikes and deals 60% increased damage. That's interesting. So we deal more damage and we crit at the same time. Actually, yeah, that's really good. So if you have this, then you don't need this thing over here. But this is more a caster's skill or anything. They grant spirit and deal increased damage when you damage a vulnerable, immobilized, or slowed enemy. Okay. So we can just choose how we benefit from this. Interesting. We don't necessarily need a vulnerability thing, but vulnerability alone means that we increase the damage itself. So if you focus on vulnerable targets, then we don't need to immobilize them or slow them, because vulnerability does all of it. So... lacerate. Okay, shapeshift into a werewolf, become immune, and quickly dash 10 times between enemies in an area. Alright. Deal damage. You may only select one ultimate skill. Wait. Okay. So ultimate skills and key passives can only be chosen one, and the other one can't be chosen. Interesting. Yeah, the other ones are crossed out. That's also a very nice way to see that. Upon shapeshifting the werewolf, damage reduction. Increased damage, and shapeshifting fortifies you for so and so much life. Good. Critical strike. Okay, what about this one? The storm. In case... yeah, petrify in this case. In case enemies nearby in stone, stunning them for 30 seconds, and you deal 20% increased critical strike, against bosses. The critical strike damage bonus is increased, and its duration is increased to 6 seconds. Finally a skill that is set to work on bosses. Petrified's effect durations are increased by 1 second. Killing an enemy affected by petrify grants better. Nice. What do we got here? Nature skills deal increased damage to elites. Your earth skills deal 4% increased damage to vulnerable enemies. And your storm skills deal 4% increased damage to enemies that are stunned, immobilized, or knocked back. Ooh. But we have the storm armor, which knocks them back anyway. Now the question is just how long does the knockback or stun or whatever persist for the calculation. Nature magic skills deal increased damage. Triple this bonus if an earth skill is the next skill cast after a storm skill, or a storm skill is the next skill cast after an earth skill. Wait. Oh, okay, so we have to flip-flop between earth and storm all the time. That's good. Wasn't this a flippy-floppy thing? Casting an earth skill has a chance to trigger a free storm skill. So... okay, if you use Nature's Fury, you can basically flip-flop between storm and earth skills and have them free all the time, meaning that you never need to consider spirit costs, which is actually pretty interesting. But yeah, wait a minute, it has a 20% chance to trigger free earth skill, so it's not always the case, but skills that consume spirit heal you for 1% of your maximum life. So the more life we have, the more healing we get. Fine, skills deal increased damage to elites, here we get that. And a massive storm follows you for 8 seconds. Twisters knock back enemies, and the thing is, it follows me, but I'm going forward into the enemy, so the storm will always be a little too late. Lightning strikes wildly, dealing so and so much damage. Okay, it's pretty good scaling. Can we, like, not see... oh, it cannot be increased. Interesting. Cataclysm duration is increased by 2 seconds. Okay, the cooldown is a minute though, which is a bit iffy. Lightning strikes from Cataclysm make enemies vulnerable for 2 seconds. Okay, that's also another way to make enemies vulnerable, but we may not even need it if we have another skill. Right. Yeah, what about this one again? So there's like boulder stuff, other stuff, earth skills deal that much, and this elemental stuff. Your storm skills have up to a 10% chance to make enemies vulnerable. So, am I going to choose the ravens for the vulnerability, or am I going to choose the storm for the vulnerability? Questions upon questions. What do the ravens do? They fly above you and periodically attack your enemies for so and so much damage every 5 seconds. The target area is swarmed with ravens dealing so and so much damage over 6 seconds. So you have to constantly cast that skill. Great. But at least it does decent amount of damage. Increased critical strike chance against enemies for 6 seconds after they are hit by ravens. Okay, so this is actually the thing that ravens are good for. You call a raven, they make them critically afflicted, and then you do other stuff. Bonus damage. Direct your wolves to focus on enemy, leaping to them and striking for... oh, okay. Increase damage to immobilized, poisoned, or whatever. The wolves attack... yeah, this is that lucky thing again. Oh, double this bonus if they are also slowed down, knocked down, Okay, so if we can slow them down, knock them down, or whatever, we can deal more. Okay. Around you that deals damage to surrounding enemies over 8 seconds. Enemies who are damaged by hurricane are slowed. Haha. Hurricane has a... now the question is, if we push the enemy back, can we slow them or not? Because it could also be that if we have the hurricane active, then the pushback aura is useless, because then they are not in range anymore. Questions upon questions upon questions. Okay, this is the slow thing, and this is the vulnerable. Wait, what? Become vulnerable, yes. Every 10 seconds, second armor intensifies, causing incoming damage to ground you. Yeah, do we want damage reduction or not? That's a big question. And how many of them can we actually have at the same time? The thing is, this one is only there for 3 seconds, meaning that I have to constantly reapply this skill. And I don't like that. But the thing is, it doesn't have any cost, so we can just use it all the time. Very interesting. Okay. Interesting. When Boulder reaches the end of its path, enemies hit are slowed by 30% for da-da-da-da. We don't care that much about it. The boulder is nice, but come on. Also knocks back enemies and so on. No. Increase damage to slowed enemies. Yes. Critical strike with earth skills fortify you. Nope. While you are fortified over 50% of your maximum life, your earth skills deal increased damage. Great. Poisoned enemies are slowed. Poisoned enemies take 10% additional critical strike damage. But in order to poison them, you need to be a wolf, it seems. Werewolf. Poisoned enemies take additional strike damage. Poisoned enemies are slowed by so and so much. Poison creepers immobilize. Duration is da-da-da-da. Poison creeper rarely emerges from the ground every 7 seconds. Okay. And applies poison damage to an enemy in the area. Okay, and then it also has an active. Nice. Probably gonna go for the poison creeper. At least at the beginning. Right. And then because they are poisoned, they are slowed. And poisoned enemies take more critical strike damage. So this is also working together. And I don't need to be a werewolf all the time. So, good. Now what about this one? Storm skill have up to vulnerability. Lightning bolt hits a nearby enemy. He dealing... Oh, this is funny. Oh, this is amazing. Okay. Dealing lightning damage to enemies has up to 5% chance to mobilize them. Again, if the target is already mobilized, the lightning damage dealt to them is increased. Again. Right. Lucky it's up to 10% when dealing damage to a vulnerable, immobilized, or stunned enemy that are lightning bolt has hit dealing damage. Okay. Stunned enemy that are lightning bolt. No, again, wait. Lucky hit up to a 10% chance when dealing damage to a vulnerable, immobilized, or stunned enemy that a lightning bolt also hits them. Okay. So they have to be vulnerable, immobilized, or stunned. That's the idea. So as long as we keep them vulnerable all the time, everything's fine. Now the question is, how do we keep them vulnerable with this? 20% chance. To make enemies vulnerable for 4 seconds. Additional spirit. Increase movement speed. But this at least makes you go faster. But it's more a... I have to use it all the time kind of skill. Now I'm kind of a lazy person. I'm just going to create the huge storm and let the enemies get hit by like ravens and creepers and lightning and whatnot. Then I just stand there and watch the clock until they die. So, your storm skills have up to a 10% chance to make enemies vulnerable and so on. So yeah, we got this one. Damage by hurricane are slowed. Enemies affected by hurricane deal less damage. Enemy has 50% chance to make enemies vulnerable for 3 seconds. Now the thing is, it's not a 100% chance to make them vulnerable. If they deal less damage, that would mean that this skill is a defensive thing, which is great. But it's only there over 8 seconds, and I have to constantly reapply it, which is a bit iffy. But anyway. Damage when damaging it. So I want to focus on the storm skills, meaning that flip-flopping between the skills is a no-no. Meaning that all the earth passives are also a no-no. No pushback, no nothing. And that's also a huge no-no, even if anything is working flawlessly. Basic skills generate more spirit, yes. Yeah, I'm gonna focus solely on the storm. Storm and slow, probably, and vulnerability. Slowed by stacking up to 40%, that's good. Enemies hit with tornado have a 10% chance to become vulnerable. Now this is so annoying. Okay. Because do we want to stack additional effects on them? Spawn additional... Oh, this is funny. Okay. Round your weapon, dealing damage to your target and chaining up to this is a chain, immobilize all enemies, But again, it's this. Storm Strike has a 50% chance to make the enemies vulnerable. Storm Strike can be used all the time. 50% is very high. Therefore, the vulnerability chance should be focused on Storm Strike alone. And all of the other stuff does not need to be vulnerable. Does not need to increase vulnerability. It can use all of the other bonuses. Okay, now we figured it out. Only thing we need to do is make it so that Storm Strike can be used very quickly, so that we can hammer through the 50% chance of vulnerability constantly, like 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, which means every second hit is a vulnerability thing for 3 seconds. And if we can hit twice in 3 seconds, so with like 1.5, yeah, kind of 1.5 seconds attack speed, then, or maybe even faster, then that means we can apply that very, very quickly. The problem is we would stand very close to the enemy if we do that. Now I would like to stand a little further away. Don't know if this is a melee ability or not. It says your weapon. We don't know what kind of weapon we can use. It doesn't say that it's a melee skill. It could also be a ranged skill. Nothing in here says anything about melee. You could also choose a bow or something, but I don't know how weapons work in this game. Wind shear has 20% chance, yeah, to make enemies vulnerable for 4 seconds. We could basically flip-flop between like wind shear and storm strike or something like that. Right. Wind shear grants additional spirit for each enemy hit, which is great. Each enemy hit, da 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 da. Makes me move faster. Ugh. Like moving faster is nice, but come on. In this case, it would be better for me to get more spirit out of it if I would use the wind shear thing. Huh. The big question is just, do we go for wind shear at the beginning or do we go for storm strike? But this one is there for 4 seconds. Oh, this is actually quite interesting. Isn't that for 4 seconds? Dealing 70% damage. And this one is... okay, 20% damage. Slightly higher, but melee, probably. But it chains. But this one would probably pass through the enemy. It says it's a blade, but okay. Interesting. So now that we managed to basically get a good look on the abilities, let's talk to Tovri and Devmir.
If Devmir is taking up all the space by the fire, just give him a shove.
Fire's looking good, but I should watch it a little longer to make sure it doesn't go out.
If Devmir is taking up all the space by the fire, just give him a
A
shove.
warm hearth. There are still things to be grateful for in this world.
Alright, anyway. That was at least the quick
These will
introduction
keep you
here.
safe.
Oh boy. Now we can use axes, dag. I haven't seen any ranged weapon yet. And I don't know if we can freely choose different weapons in here. Or if they are like... because critical strike could actually help us with dexterity and so on. So I really want to check out if I can use a crossbow with this character. That would be so funny. Alright. But before we do anything else and talk to Vani and continue the quest, which we should definitely have done, we're going to end this episode, which was a talky one. Until next time, then like and subscribe. Ta-ta. Oh, wait. We can use this one. No, wait.
Greetings.
Yes. Do we have anything else in here, though? No, wait. Yes, point, sorry, hello, thanks. I have a wave thing. Yeah, that's a good one. Oh, I have a buy one. Yes, buy sounds good. Let's use... Why does it say right? Oh, there's buy. Okay. Interesting. So in this case, I have to go to the... scroll wheel. Perfect. The thing is, it always starts at the middle, which is not nice, but okay.
Farewell.
There we go.